Welcome to another edition of Basagan Trip. I'm Leloy Claudio. I used to teach history and literature at De La Salle University. But next week, I'll be joining the faculty of the University of California at Berkeley. So this is going to be my last edition of Basagan Trip, at least in this format. So for this final episode of Basagan Trip, I'm going to give you a gift, a kind of Christmas gift / New Year's gift. I know that it's the end of the holiday season and a lot of you, marami sa inyo gusto mag-gym at the end of this month. But you also should realize that today is Rizal Day. So let's hit two birds with one stone. So the question I'm going to ask in this episode is, how did Rizal work out? And what kind of principles from his workouts can we use today? Kasi marami sa atin, sa tingin natin, Rizal was an intellectual influence. He's a moral influence. But what we don't realize is that Rizal can also be an influence on the way we treat our bodies, the way we train our bodies, because Rizal was also a physical culturist. So for today's episode, ang guest ko is someone who can actually explain the kind of physical fitness they engaged in the 19th century. So in my own readings, I've been researching 19th century physical culture, and at least in the US, one of the people who's really contributed to an understanding of 19th century physical culture and who's also brought back a lot of yung mga ginagawa nila noong 19th century is a man by the name of Pavel Tsatsouline. And he's the chairman of a company called Strong First. So yung hindi ko alam is that this system of Pavel Tsatsouline, this Strong First system, it has a presence here in the Philippines, not very large, but very influential, I think. And this presence allows us to rediscover some of those old 19th century lifts. So the person here in the Philippines who has taught the longest with Strong First under that company is, in fact, my own coach, because I sought him out. He's the person who's kept me, I think, in the best shape of my life. His name is Coach Mark Limbaga. Welcome to Basagan Trip, Coach Mark.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
So are you ready to discuss Rizal's physical fitness regimen today on Rizal Day?
Yes, ready when you are.
All right, so let's break this down into three segments. The first segment will discuss Rizal's history as a mountaineer. And from that, let's try to understand how we can use Rizal's methods to get better cardio. And then second, we look at Rizal's calisthenics, and then we will use the principles of his calisthenics to get a better understanding of proprioception. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. We'll discuss proprioception later on and tell you what that is. And then thirdly, we look at his lifting. I already have some heavy kettlebells here, and we're going to discuss the principle of why everybody needs to lift heavy. Everybody, di ba? At one point needs to lift heavy.
At one point, yes.
Yep. So we know that si Rizal was a mountaineer. And if you want to learn more about this, you can read yung column ng kaibigan ko na si Gideon Lasco sa Inquirer. He writes about Rizal's mountaineering there. We know that he gave talks to mountaineers in Germany. We know that he described a lot of mountains in his novels. And we of course know that Rizal climbed Mount Makiling. So yung question dito is, mountaineering, why is that beneficial? And what can we learn from Rizal's mountaineering?
What can we learn? Let's start with the physical.
Okay.
We know that walking is a great form of exercise, and a lot of people use walking to clear their minds. And when often you're surrounded by nature, marami kang ideas,
right.
so to speak, na naiisip. So I wouldn't be surprised that Dr. Rizal had a lot of light bulb moments when he was climbing these mountains, when he was hiking.
It's a kind of mind-body connection, no?
That's correct. And most people overlook that. Mind and body have to be in unison.
Okay.
So what else can we learn? Let's just say that he probably took at least 10,000 steps whenever he'd be traversing these mountains, and
minimum yan.
Malamang. So yeah, the thing is, quoting another wise man, Mark Rifkin, he says that humans are the strongest walkers among all living species. So let's put it this way: maximize what we have at our disposal, what we have as talent. So by walking inclines, as they say, walking mountains, that will definitely strengthen your body. That will also help your stamina go up.
Tsaka usually, pag nagma-mountaineering ka, may karga ka sa likod, di ba?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? What's the benefit of that, walking with load?
Walking with load. If you're walking properly, according to your design, and you add a load to it, you strengthen that pattern. And a stronger pattern is definitely better. Again, let me put a key insight here. It has to be done ideally according to your design.
Okay.
So we don't develop any not so pleasant movements.
Yeah. And as for cardio, a lot of people talk about cardio. Now, a lot of people think that if you want to get good cardio, you have to engage in these really intense, high-intensity interval workouts. But you've been telling me that actually maybe walking around with something heavy in your back might be more beneficial in the long run than beating yourself up with these high-intensity interval workouts.
Yes, I would say that all these high-intensity interval workouts, they do have their place, they do have their value, but not everyone is ready for it.
Right.
But simply walking, doing anything which is low intensity, I believe that as long as you are healthy, it's something that you can do. And you can use it to build up to things that are more challenging eventually. So, as we say, diba, why do the older people love to walk? Because it's something that they can do and they know it will not break them down.
One of the things you promote, and I'm going to get a bit technical here, is yung system nyo sa Strong First of anti-glycolytic training. So mountaineering is a perfect example of anti-glycolytic training. What's anti-glycolytic training?
Trying to be less scientific, trying to be less geeky, as they say. It's basically that you don't want to huff and puff and you don't want to quote-unquote feel the burn. So in the words of another hero, Captain America, if you watched the Avengers, he said, "I can do this all day." So that basically means it's something that you can keep doing without really feeling that you were slowing down.
Actually, napansin ko sa training namin ni Coach Mark, sabi niya, pag hiningal ka, tumigil ka. And I realized, after a while, akala ko hindi lalakas yung resistensya ko. But I realized the other day, tumatakbo ako because I had that capacity, that strong cardiovascular baseline. Mas lumalakas yung resistensya ko. So it's a kind of paradox, di ba? The more efficient you train, the stronger your endurance becomes in the long run.
I'm glad to hear that. Ngayon ko lang nalaman yan.
Okay.
So,
Salamat.
So that's a surprise for me. But yeah, because you're actually building capacity rather than tolerance. So most people focus more on the tolerance rather than the capacity. But you can actually improve since you're building a wider base rather than trying to chase a peak.
Alright, so ano yung principles na nakuha natin from mountaineering? Things like don't huff and puff all the time, right? Take it easy, mind-body connection. So for those people, hindi naman natin kaya mag-mountaineering all the time, what exercise can you suggest to them that kind of replicates the kind of benefits of mountaineering?
3 words, take a walk.
Take a walk.
Yun na lang.
And how about loading the walk pattern?
You can. I mean, most people who are students or 9 to 5 workers, we usually carry packs anyway. So that's already a form of load. And I would say, take a walk more than often. So if it's only 2 floors, wag ka na lang mag-elevator, wag ka na lang mag-escalator, take the stairs. If you drive a car, park a bit farther. And I mean, these are just simple steps, but you can do this on a daily basis. It won't cost you much.
Okay. Alright, the second thing that Rizal did in his fitness regimen was this thing called calisthenics or gymnastics. Meron siyang notes na nakita ni Amber Ocampo talking about yung design niya for the PE of a school that he wanted to create. And he said na ang gusto niya is the students would engage in Swedish gymnastics. And he said that this kind of gymnastics would be hygienic only. So, ibig sabihin nun, light Swedish gymnastics. So, I did some research on this at na-discover ko na yung Swedish gymnastics at the time in the 19th century was a system of gymnastics called Ling Gymnastics. Fortunately, may nahanap kami sa YouTube na example of Ling Gymnastics, and we're gonna show you some of that while I'm discussing with Coach Mark. So Coach, ano yung nakikita mo dito sa system of Ling Gymnastics dito na baka beneficial?
What I can say is it's ground-based. So when most people hear gymnastics, ang iniisip nila agad yung tumbling.
Yes, yeah.
And the high-skill stuff. So it kind of intimidates them. But when they see that it's starting from the ground, working your way to standing, that gives them more confidence. Ay, kaya ko pala.
Right,
and
right.
it's about finding that safe entry point and then building up from there.
And what's the benefit? See, I noticed that people are rolling around on the ground a lot here. What's the benefit of rolling on the ground? What is groundwork?
Good question. Let's use some thoughts from other systems, which are partner systems of the Strong First system, such as the Ground First method and the Original Strength. Your body is an X, so konting history ulit, yung Vitruvian Man, di ba?
Okay.
So, you see
Yung
left and right,
nakaganon,
that's it, that's the one. So, when you roll, you're actually connecting your right to your left, you're crossing midline, and that gives better mind-body connection, and that helps you strengthen your middle, yung core, kung tawagin natin. Aside from that, it also gives a lot of feedback to your body since you have connection with the ground. So, yung sense of touch is worked there.
Yeah.
So you're already getting a lot of good stuff, and because you're on the ground, it's not intimidating. In fact, if you talk to any neurodevelopmental specialist, they will tell you that rolling is actually seen in infants, I think, from their 4th month onward, sometimes as late as the 9th month, so it really depends. But
So this is how we learn to move.
yeah, exactly.
So we mentioned a while ago, we learn to move and we learn proprioception through rolling largely and also through rocking and crawling
Yes,
and those other things. What's proprioception?
Proprioception is being aware of your surroundings. So that's why when a person has vestibular issues or like vertigo, they feel that their world is literally spinning.
Right. So how does rolling help with that?
Since you're actually moving from one point to the other point with very fundamental movement, as we can call it, that actually helps you develop a sense of awareness like where you are. So usually when babies learn how to roll, it was never perfect at first. It was always by an accident because they wanted to get to some place or they wanted to reach for an object. And then from there, they started developing the other patterns.
Okay, so in the spirit of Jose Rizal, let's teach our viewers how to roll.
Sure.
Okay. So for this rolling demo, nakahanap ako ng biktima, si Paula from our HR department dito sa Rappler. She's gonna learn how to roll. Hi Paula, are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I'll leave you to it. Exit muna ako.
Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
So please lie down on your back.
Okay.
Okay. So let's use a very simple explanation and approach. Okay, Paula. So what I want you to do is imagine you're trying to reach for something at the end of the hallway and you're going to have to grab it with your right hand. So stretch out ka lang and then you're going to have to end up on your stomach. Okay? So reach and then keep on turning. Ready? And go. Yeah, keep going. Okay, good. Now, to go back, I want you to imagine I stole your cookie and then just chase me. So roll back towards me. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. It's a good start. Okay, Paula, thank you for being a fair sport. So, if I may ask you, anong pakiramdam when you were rolling?
I felt like my back was stretched. And yeah, it's somehow like a stretching exercise.
Yeah, so that's great. So what can our viewers, our audience benefit from it? This simple move can actually quote unquote unknot you. So it can make you feel good. So let's say you have some space at home. You can just do a few of these every single day. Let's say as soon as you get up or right before bed, and you will really feel great. It doesn't take much of your time. So thank you so much, Paula. I guess we'll be seeing you later.
Sure.
Okay, Paula, thank you very much. So, balik ako. Ano ba yung, well, this is Basagan ng trip actually. Meron akong gustong basagin na trip dito. Ito yung trip na kung gusto mo mag-stretch, kailan masakit at saka kailangan hinahatak mo talaga yung muscles mo. What you learn from rolling is that stretching need not be painful, di ba, Coach? So why shouldn't stretching be painful all the time? Or maybe not painful at all?
Okay, we have receptors in our body that when they sense pain, our body shifts into fight or flight.
Right.
So more often than not, I think in anything, I often have observed that if our body is in fight or flight mode, it's much harder since the goal is to quote-unquote survive. Versus if we give our body feedback that it allows it to thrive, of course, it will more welcome the movement.
And it just feels better, right?
Yeah,
it just feels good, yeah.
It feels good to feel good,
Yeah,
di ba?
absolutely. So, okay, so moving on, yung third lesson that we can get from Rizal, and ito yung mas hardcore, which is you have to lift heavy. How do we know na mabigat magbuhat si Rizal? Well, I'll flash this photo on screen, and this is a carving that Rizal did in Dapitan. It's very clear that the person there is lifting very, very heavy weight. Coach Mark, what kind of lift is this person doing?
I believe that is either a side press or a bent press, depending on how you execute it.
Right, and the side press or bent press, this was kind of a circus lift in the 19th century, right? Can you tell us a little bit about
Something
this lift?
like it. It was done by performing strongmen.
Yeah.
Since it allows you to hoist a heavier load versus a regular strict press. I believe Arthur Saxon was recorded that he was able to do a two hands anyhow, which is another variant with around 400 pounds.
And here's a bit of trivia. When Arthur Saxon was performing as a strongman in London, nandun po si Rizal. So it's no coincidence na yung lifting techniques ni Rizal were lifting techniques of the 19th century. For lack of a better term, let's call these lifts heritage lifts kasi luma na siya. And as I mentioned a while ago, iilan lang yung marunong magturo nitong mga lifts na to at isa si Coach Mark na sa mga nagtuturo ng lifts na yun. Now, just to give you an idea, apart from this visual aid, kung gaano kabigat yung binubuhat ni Rizal ng panahon na yun, let's try to describe his dumbbell to you. Because si Ambeth Ocampo, my friend Ambeth Ocampo, the great historian Ambeth Ocampo, he found a description of Rizal's dumbbell from a journalist named Angel Anden. Let me read to you what Anden said. So ito yung sabi ni Angel Anden from the December 27, 1959 issue of the Sunday Times. Sabi niya, "It was not an ordinary 5-pounder such that anyone would use for limbering up. It was an enormous weight, almost a foot long and as thick as a young boy's head at the knobs. From my almost 4 decades of experience in the field of weights, I knew that whoever used those heavy dumbbells was either a very big man or a small man trying to compensate for his physical deficiency." Now, my sense, Coach Mark, is that this is a very unfair treatment of Rizal. Do you lift heavy weights because you're insecure?
No, I lift heavy weights, one, because I enjoy it,
Yeah.
and I like the feeling of getting stronger.
So Rizal, we know, was 5'4". How tall are you, Coach Mark?
I am about 5'5".
So it's roughly Rizal's height, right? And for somebody who's 5'5", can you lift? Should you be lifting heavy dumbbells?
Let me quote another wise guy, Master Instructor Pavel Matzek, said that what is the potential for a lighter man is to get stronger.
Absolutely. So lifting heavy weights is not a sign of insecurity. Rather, it's a sign of honing your craft. And the problem, I think, with Angel Anden is he kind of thought about lifting weights in terms of limbering up or in terms of bodybuilding. Because in bodybuilding, you curl something for 10, 15 reps. So you can only lift light kasi binaburn mo yung muscle mo. But how would you train the bent press? How would you train the side press?
I would train it the way old-time strongmen did, the way circus performers would train their acts. It's something that you treat as a skill. It's something that you use to get better at. It's a craft. Now, of course, bodybuilding is also a craft, but their focus is more on sculpting the body to make it look a certain way. Versus for performing strongmen or strength athletes, as we could call them, what they did is they wanted to lift a heavy weight to their potential, and it's not to build muscle. I mean, if they did build muscle, it was more of a side effect. So, if you look at guys like Mighty Atom, he was about 5'4" and 140 pounds. If he had some clips, I believe that he was pulling a plane with his teeth.
So, hindi nakakagulat na medyo mapayat si Rizal, medyo maliit, pero mabigat yung binubuhat.
Yeah, definitely.
That's completely normal, especially in the context of the 19th century.
Wiry strength, as Pavel Satsulin would call it.
Okay. So Rizal had wiry strength. So let's try to demo this lift, this bent press or this side press that Rizal would have done. How much you estimate Rizal would have lifted on a bent press or a side press based on this description and then based on what we saw dun sa carving niya?
I would say since he got to learn in the flesh from certain old-time strongmen, since back then he was a scholar, and of course, I'm sure he was able to interact with some of these legends or proteges of these legends. I think that can probably be at least 70 pounds, probably even 100 pounds.
So, roughly to approximate that, what we have here for us today is a 24-kilogram kettlebell. Is that a good approximation of Rizal, what Rizal would have lifted?
I would say that would probably be something he would be using often, and then that would be what he would use to polish his technique, and then when he feels strong on a given day, saka siya pupunta sa heavier weight.
Okay, let's demo how to do the side press, the kind of lift that Rizal was doing. Okay, so Coach Mark is going to demo for us a heritage lift, a kind of 19th century lift that you don't normally see in gyms. So we'll start with, I think that you're going to demo the side press or the bent press.
I can probably just do one of each.
Okay.
And then let's go from there.
All right.
Okay.
So let's start with Coach Mark. This is a 24 kilogram. We said that this is the kind of weight that Rizal might have worked with. And Coach Mark is roughly Rizal's height.
Okay, so let's see. Here we go. Pick it up. Ang side press, you're going to shoot the weight up and then you're gonna move your body away. So, sabay sila. And then you come up. So again, Yan. So the difference between a strict press, ang strict press kasi, your body basically stays immobile. Okay? Sa side press, what you are doing is you're trying to stack your hip under the weight, so the weight's going up and your body's shifting away. And then you stand up. Okay. For the bent press, there are a lot of variations of this. I'll just do the way I'm most comfortable with, which is, it looks like a windmill. So I'm going to keep the weight steady and then I'm just going to drop under. So from here, I pick it up. Yeah, so as you notice, I do not stand up until my elbow is locked and I do not press the bell up. So that's basically that.
Okay, are you ready to teach me and Paula how to lift like Rizal?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So, lady and gentlemen, we will do the side press. So what I am asking of you is you have to pick up the kettlebell safely with 1 or 2 hands and bring it into the rack position. Yan, safely lang. There you go. Now, you're gonna press the kettlebell overhead as your body moves away from the kettlebell. So, sabay siya. Okay? As soon as you start moving the kettlebell, ilayo nyo na yung katawan nyo. Keep your eyes on the bell and then lock your elbow. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Good. Safely stand up. Yeah. And bring it down. Okay. Put the kettlebell down.
High five, Paula.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
So lifting like Rizal, Paula, what was that like?
Okay naman.
Okay naman. Is it something you think you can do in the future?
I
You're
think
interested
so.
in doing?
Yeah.
What did it feel like?
There's adrenaline. It feels good to know that you could lift that kind of weight.
Yeah, and one of the things we should learn is that women should be lifting weights also. Strength is not just for males.
Yes.
Kita niyo naman si Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, nagtutulak ng truck, di ba? So maybe one day, Paula, magtutulak ka na rin ng truck. Maraming salamat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have Coach Mark back. So thank you for teaching us how to lift like 19th century strongmen. But this of course begs the question, yung lifting ba na yan pang museum lang? Is it just a museum lift or is it something that we should still do? Because I go to the gym, nobody does these particular lifts. What's the role they have for today?
I think it's something that we can revisit and it's something that we should practice, especially since it requires skill and the skill will transfer to a lot of things, not just what you lift in the gym. And I think the only reason why it became a quote-unquote museum lift is a lot of people forgot it, but I'm sure when the typical guy who lifts in the gym sees that you can actually lift more weight, that would probably excite him or her.
Right. Pero a lot of these lifts actually, they kind of survived in communist Russia, di ba? So one of the reasons why the people at Strong First know these lifts is because yung founder nila actually came from Russia, learned these lifts, and then bumalik siya sa US and started reintroducing a lot of these 19th century lifts. And we've been finding that they're actually better than a lot of the lifts we've been doing these days, right? These heritage lifts.
I would say they're good. They give you a lot of feedback sa katawan mo and they're fun to learn. So I would say that anyone who enjoys lifting heavy, they should definitely try to do it and add it to their arsenal.
Now, this entire lifting heavy thing, like you lift for 1 to 2 reps, 1 to 3 reps, you don't burn yourself out. Is it something that almost everybody should do? Should everybody learn how to lift heavy?
I will say, as long as they already have medical clearance and they're fairly healthy, yeah, why not? I mean, strength is for everyone.
Bakit? Kahit yung mga babae, paano kung sinabi sa'yo ng babae, coach, paano kung maging macho ako?
Good question. I will often tell them this. Number one, you won't turn into the Hulk overnight. Of course, unless you find some gamma radiation, which I don't know where to find.
Yeah. So, your company is called Strong First, diba? So, obviously, you emphasize being strong. Why should everybody endeavor to be strong?
Strength is for everyone. It's not just physical strength. It's also mental strength, strength of character, and a lot of the lessons we learn when we lift are applicable to real life.
So, what real life lesson can you learn from doing Rizal's bench press?
I would say, number one, patience, because you have to spend time learning it. And then number two, you will also learn through your own practice, like how to align your body, how to hold the weight, if it's a kettlebell or a barbell. And you also want to seek technical proficiency. So these things also apply. Let's say you're a musician, you're a painter, or anything. You just want to make sure that you're getting better in your craft.
So, anong pwedeng gawin ng mga tao sa kanilang mga bahay if they want to start learning how to lift heavy?
Of course, make sure you're healthy. First of all, get medical clearance kung alanganin. And ideally, find someone who will teach you the movements, since getting hands-on coaching is probably, and I would say, the best way to learn rather than trying to self-teach. Of course, for people who do not have access, then I would say that's where the internet comes in. But if you have someone that you can visit and learn hands-on, that will always be the best way to learn.
And what are the most important lifts that will get people strong?
Basically, a press, a squatting pattern, a hinging pattern, a pulling pattern, and pick stuff up and walk with it.
So Rizal had things right already.
Yeah.
So, let's zoom out a little bit. We learned 3 principles from Rizal. Unang-una, yung cardio natin, wag natin gano'ng pagurin sarili natin. There's importance to low-level cardio work. You should just remember how to walk. Secondly, be a kid again and start rolling on the floor. And then thirdly, pick up and lift heavy things, because that's going to keep you young. And this is something we can do for this new year. But for you, Coach, what is the overarching principle of Rizal's training regimen?
I would say it was something that was a generalist approach, that he worked on his movement quality, he did a lot of low-level work, and then he lifted some iron.
Lift some iron. So that's your New Year's resolution this year, low-level work, and then lift some iron. So for people who want to get in touch with you, people who want to learn more about the systems you teach in, how can they get in touch, or how can they learn more?
Of course, if they want to learn more about our company, they can just visit strongfirst.com. I am on social media. My name is Mark Limbaga. So you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter. Just shoot me a message if you have any questions. And please give me some time, but I will get back to you.
Maraming salamat, Coach Mark.
So thank you.
Thank you. Sa akin kasi, Rizal was all about balance. So balance lahat ng mga posisyon niya. Balance yung kanyang idea about revolution. Revolution is okay, but you have to balance it with preparedness. So yung idea na yun of balance, this idea of yin and yang, it exists even in Rizal's training regimen. Kita nyo naman, hardcore magbuhat si Rizal, napakabigat. But at the same time, marunong din siya mag-recover. Marunong siya mag-roll around on the floor, marunong siya maglakad. He knew how to appreciate nature. And this is something we lose in kind of the fitness space today. A lot of us believe na balance is outdated. We should just wreck ourselves every time we go to the gym. But what Rizal says is that you need the soft and you need the hard. You need to lift hard, but you need to roll light as well. And I think this is our Rizal Day lesson today. This idea of balance, not just in fitness, but also in everyday life. Being this is the last episode of Basagan ng Trip, I'd like to just thank everyone, everybody's help, the producers, the cameramen who've helped, and also, of course, you, the audience. Maraming salamat, and maraming salamat to all my guests. I hope to see you again in another form. Hopefully, we can do this again, maybe through another medium. Thank you very much.